Hey guys, welcome to another episode of MTG Steam Brewery. There won't be a versus video this week. There should be one next week. I just wanted to go and get a deck tech out this week to save me a little time next week, because I'm going to be very busy next week. I have a test coming up in my math college class, so that's just why this is happening this week instead of next week. And this should be coming along right beside our versus video and deck tech for our standard portion this week. So please look forward to that too. And we're going to go and get right into the deck tech. This is our Esper Idyllic Teachings deck. It's an Esper control deck that wins with Hivemind and has Idyllic Teaching and a Mystical Tutor. So we're going to look at this first card. It's Restoration Angel. Kind of, it's our backup plan. Our backup plan is to beat down with creatures, mainly Restoration Angel and Celestial Colonnade. As well, it's a 3/4, and it has Flash, so it can threaten a control player at the end of the turn to give us a chance to resolve a Hivemind, which is very good against control decks. So that's why they're in there. As well as being able to blink our 2 of Snapcaster Mages, and with packs in our deck, just blink, not too hard to blink a Snapcaster and flashback a packs. Pretty easy. As well as, this is a grindier deck, so there will be times where we can flashback a spell using Restoration Angel on our Snapcaster for value, which is kind of, doesn't happen too often, but it's not very unreasonable. We also have 2 Hivemind, our win condition. I'll show you what we do to win with this if you don't know when we get to our packs in the deck, but this is the card Hivemind itself, and I'm sure you'll enjoy if you don't already know. We also have 2 Ghostly Prison. For the aggressive decks, it also stops the Splinter Twin decks and the key control decks from combo killing you, as well as being able to type in aggressive decks mana, so it makes it harder for them to press their board, which is going to be very good. It just gives you a ton of time. So that is why this card here, it's very good in this deck, especially since we can also tutor up with our Idyllic Teachings. We also have 1 Ruined Halo and 1 Declaration Knot as 2 1/0 targets. These are both very good cards. Ruined Halo can get us out of many situations. It can stop if you know what they're going to combo with, it can stop Splinter Twin combo, it can stop Restoration Angel. It can just stop you from getting attacked by certain cards. Well, stop you from getting damaged by certain cards. Very good against a deck like Boggles, where they're going to suit up 1 threat. You play this, you name a threat, and then Declaration Knot is just really good when you're already ahead, or you're in a spot where you can stabilize, but your opponent can still draw one of their cards to get out. Declaration Knot is going to just stop that from happening once it resolves, making it very hard for certain decks to win, especially if you're against a blue deck and you name Protect Command. It can become very difficult for them to win. If you go up against Escape Shift, playing Ruined Halo or Declaration Knot is going to be extremely powerful, so that's why those are in there. 3 Idyllic Tutors can go grab Hivemind or one of our bullet enchantments. It's mainly going to grab Hivemind so we can win. This also allowed us to run 1 less copy of Hivemind, as it is 6 mana. We didn't want too many Hiveminds, so having a way to 2 to 4 at 3 mana was very helpful. We also have 4 Zero Visions, just kind of a really solid spell in Modern, since we don't have Ponder, Preordain, or Brainstorm. We have this and Sleight of Hand. This is notably better than Sleight of Hand, and we're not really just trying to, like Storm, to just draw a bunch of cards in 1 turn. We're trying to just set up our draw for the later turns, so Serum Vision is perfect for that at 1 mana. So 3 Thoughtseize is a cheap way to interact with our opponent's hand, sometimes allowing us to push through a Hivemind through some number of counter spells. Against combo decks, it's very good. Against aggressive decks, it's very good. Just kind of one of the best spells you're going to be playing in Modern, so we definitely have 3 of those. Also, 1 Sphinx's Revelation. This card's absurdly powerful in Standard, absurdly powerful in Modern, especially when you have a deck that can get to enough mana. We can also tutor it with Mystical Teaching, making it even better. And this card is just an all-around solid card, and there's not much need for us to justify playing it. We also have 1 Consume to make an instant speed Wrath. There's not much needed to say about being able to have access to an instant speed Wrath, even if it is conditional. Instant speed Wraths are very good. It also has a can't be regenerated clause, which can sometimes be very relevant, and we can tutor this up with our Mystical Teaching, which is the hugest part of this card, making it very good for our deck. Speaking of Mystical Teaching, we have 2 of Mystical Teaching. It allows us to go grab our packs to go with our Hivemind. It can grab Snapcaster to flashback a spell if we need to. You can grab Counter Spell, or Remove a Spell, or Sphinx Revelation, Consume the Make, as I just showed you. You can even grab a Restoration Angel if we just want to get aggressive. A very solid card, especially with flashback. It's just really good card advantage and deck manipulation. So if 1 Dismember, just kind of being able to kill anything for 1 mana if we really need to pay 4 life, and just being able to kill the bigger things in Modern, things like Thunderma Hellkite, Stormbreath Dragon, Restoration Angel. This just kills those things, not really caring about what they are, and it doesn't care like Slaughter Pact does if it's black. It's just a removal spell, which makes it very good, especially since we're playing black. We don't always have to pay for life. We also have 3 Remand, as we're just combo deck trying to buy time. This is a perfect counter spell to do that. A little better than Mana Leak, since we're not a true control deck, we're just trying to get to turn 6, slam a Hivemind, and win the game. This just allows us to go through our deck while slowing our opponent down. 2, Path to Exile, another extremely good removal spell. Kills anything it can target. Though it does give our opponent lands, sometimes that can be very relevant against the deck like Zoo or Merfolk, sometimes even Affinity, if they're running 1 to 2 basics. Being able to ramping them, it can be very bad for you. It just allows them to be even more explosive. But we definitely wanted some number of these, as it can just kill anything we need, as well as being super cheap, so we can flash it back with a Snapcaster Mage or Tutor and cast it in the same turn with the Mystical Creature. And then we get to our packs. Pact of Negation and Slaughter Pact. Pact is just a 0-mana counterspell, even though we have to pay 5 our next upkeep, so you can't really cast it until you have 5 lands or access to 5 mana. And then 2, Slaughter Pact. It's the same except for black. And with Hivemind, since each opponent cast it, they copy. And if they can't pay for the pact of their upkeep, say they're blue or red, they can't pay for a Slaughter Pact, they'll die at their upkeep to their own packs, because they can't pay the pact. And if you have enough packs in one turn, it doesn't matter if they're even playing those colors, because you can just kill them with a multitude of packs. It is very important, though, that you let their packs resolve before yours. Say if you have Slaughter Pact, you let their Slaughter Pact resolve first, and then you cast a Pact of Negation. Or if you have multiple Pact of Negation, cast them one at a time and let theirs resolve. Otherwise, they can counter their own packs to get around their pack triggers. So that is of note if you do decide to build and play this deck. And our Plan D option in this deck is Nephalia Drownyard. Sometimes it just gets so slow and grindy, you can't really win any other way. You just have to have a way to kill them. Nephalia Drownyard does that. You never really want to win that way because it is really slow unless you draw 2. So it gives them a lot of time, but you do what you have to do to win the game. So that is why we have 2 Nephalia Drownyard. We have 1 Tectonic Edge. We could play Ghost Quarter, but we don't really need our... Being as slow as we are, it doesn't really matter if we just wait for the extra mana for Tectonic Edge, because we're just going to get to that late game. Our opponent's going to draw some lands, and if they're holding lands, it means they're not casting as many spells, so it's really good for us. We also have 2 Flames, it's kind of basic land. We have a Forbidden Watchtower. This is a very odd land. It's a 1/5 becomes a 1/5 for 2 mana, a man land. We could just play another Celestial Colonnade, but this animates for 2 mana, making it notably better against aggressive decks, as we can just block it, make it animate and block early, because sometimes those matchups can be hard if we don't just draw our removal. So that is why we have a 1/0 Forbidding Watchtower in here. We also have 2 Halimar Depths and a Teleria West as some utility blue lands. Teleria West can go grab our packs, or if we need to get aggressive, grab a Colonnade. We can grab a land if we don't have access to a certain color. But mainly it's in there to grab packs. Halimar Depths just allows us to set up our draws, and if we play it into a Serum Visions, like play Halimar Depths the same turn we play a Serum Visions, we can draw the card we want and bottom the 2 we don't, or we can wait a turn to draw the 2 cards we wanted and bottom the 1 we didn't. So it's just kind of useful like that, as well as we do have a few ways to shuffle our own library. And our last basic lands are Island Swamp, just Ghost Quarter and Path to Exile purposes, and then the rest of our mana is 3 Hallowed Fountain, 2 Colonnade, a Glacial Fortress, 3 Water Rave, 2 Temple of Deceit, and 2 Godless Shrine. Temples are very nice in this deck because, once again, just being able to filter our draws with our lands is going to be very nice, as we're a slow and grindy deck. So there was the main deck, and I'll see you in a second for the sideboard. Welcome back for the sideboard. We'll go and get right into it. Our first 3 cards are 2 Hivemind Sensor and Restoration Angel, both just kind of really good cards. Restoration Angel normally comes in against everything, just depending on what the deck we're up against. Just depends on what we replace for it. Against control decks, when they sideboard out removal, we'll bring in all 3 of these, because it's just a creature to attack with. We can go on a better beatdown plan and not rely on our Hivemind, especially when they sideboard out all their removal spells, because we kill them with a Hivemind, so they don't really think they're going to need removal spells. They think they're just going to need ways to interact with Hivemind or to stop us from even casting it. So that's why we have these in here, as well as Hivemind Sensor can just sometimes be really useful, being able to stop opponents from searching libraries. If you go up against a Gifts Ungiven deck, it makes that card really bad. Can sometimes get a counter a fetch land activation by making them miss their land and they still have to shuffle. And against some decks, they just need to be able to search a library, and this can just stop them from doing that. So if 1 Eidolon of Rhetoric, it's really good against Storm, really good against decks like Burn, Boggles. Being able to tutor this up with Idyllic Tutor also makes it really good, and having a 4 toughness makes it really hard to kill for aggressive decks to kill. So it's just kind of a nice utility card to have in our sideboard we can tutor for. The same with Detention Sphere, just kind of a catch-all removal spell. We need to be able to answer some things. Keranos is starting to see play in Modern. like when I used to play him in my original version of this deck, which was a Grixis Hivemind deck. And there are just sometimes other things you need to kill, birthing pods, voice resurgences, just problematic creatures. You need a way to answer them, and this is a way to do that. And we also get a tutor for this, like several of the other enchantments in our sideboard. Sony Silence, not really hard to explain this card. Affinity is a big deck in Modern. This just kind of stops that from happening. If you go up against a Rug command deck or Bant or whatever version of the Aether Vial control deck that you would normally go up against, you do want to bring this in because Aether Vial is the key card in their deck. So shutting that off is going to be very huge. And our final two cards are enchantments anyway, or Rest in Peace Suppression Field. Suppression Field's really good against a deck like Jund. They need their manlands really to challenge you in an actual fair game of Magic. Their Planeswalker is going to be a little worse, especially with Chandra being the card advantage is going to be a little harder to get off of her because they have to sink mana into it. And it can sometimes just tie up their mana. As well as this is just randomly good against combo decks like Spooner from Kiki-Jiki. If you're so worried about them comboing, it just stops them from allowing combo killing you just like Ghostly Prison does. And it also is, like the Rest in Peace and the other enchantments in our sideboard, tutorable with Idyllic Tutor, which makes that card so good in our main deck and making our sideboard kind of a toolbox. And Rest in Peace, Living End's kind of a deck. It's good against Malira Pod. Any graveyard-based deck. Sometimes you just want to shut off your opponent's Snapcasters, but we don't really want to do that. I'm not too worried about it, as we do have our own Snapcasters and Mystical Teachings to be worrying about. And then our final sideboard cards are just some removal. We have 2 Wrath of God. It's not Supreme Verdict because we just... Uncounterable's not really that big. Delver's not really a huge deck. Merfolk isn't really that huge of a deck. So we just needed a way that could... something that could kill Thrun. That comes down at the same mana cost as him, instead of something like Hallowed Burial, because sometimes if your opponent just pods into a Thrun on turn 3, it can be really hard to get back from that trying to get to 5 mana. Whereas a Wrath of God comes down at 4, it kills it no matter what, and is just a little cheaper, so it's better against aggressive decks. We also have 1 Celestial Purge, mainly because Liliana of the Veil is a huge threat. We needed a 2-mana way to answer it, and this is the perfect way to do that. As well as sometimes it can just be some removal against Storm. It exiles Goblin Electromancer and Pyromaster's Ascension, so that's very big. Against Pod, it can exile random creatures that are problematic. It's just kind of a nice utility card to have. And then we have Fortiflower Flesh, because I refuse to lose to Boggles in an actual game of Magic, because that deck just kind of really frustrates me, and someone plays it in my meta, so I'm just going to pack Fortiflower Flesh in my sideboard. So when I go up against him, I can tutor up a Mystical Teaching, and just kill him with it. Playing around his own fetch land to get a Dryad Arbor, because I can just kill Dryad Arbor. So I really just don't want to lose to that deck. That is why there are 4 in here. So I hope you liked the deck. There was an article up for it on mtgbrodeals.com. I know on the article I said I'd do a versus video, but that might not happen just because this deck isn't necessarily the funnest to play against. And though we love to play decks that you guys enjoy watching, we also need to consider the others' enjoyment. So we're going to try and do a versus video with this deck, but it might not happen. Hopefully it will, so be on the lookout for that if it does. If not, you'll see another Modern versus video in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But until next time, guys, have a great day. Please subscribe, hit the like button, follow us on Twitter at PearsallsBlog so you can see random things we tweet about our decks. You can interact with us there too, deck suggestions, deck recommendations, things like that. You can also email those things to us at Yahoo on pearsallsblog@yahoo.com. And as always, my articles are up on mtgbrodeals.com, so please go check those out. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.